Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Abi Levine. She is a mother, a small business owner who specializes in money mindset and manifestation, hanging out in the sweet spot between science and magic. What's not to love about that? When I read it, I was just kind of the heart opens because it has a lot to do with knowing how powerful we are and in kind of being open to tap into that. So that's what came to me like immediately as a message from you. Like, you got to know more of yourself and what your limitations are. So that's funny how immediately you just gave me that message without knowing.
I love that.
The full bio will be at the end. But the question that I love asking all my guests from the get-go after this brief introduction is, how would you introduce yourself as of this moment, Abi? Who are you?
I love it. I am a money mindset and manifestation coach, but more important than who I am, I think, is what I do. And what I do is help entrepreneurs and professionals make at least 100K plus more a year without sacrificing anything.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Gosh, we all want to know, how is it done? And now how do we get there? Is that
yes.
I guess the first question that comes to mind for a lot of people, and came for me too, is how quick can we get this going? How fast would this happen? And I guess it comes from a place, a lot of people are suffering with a lot of limitations. So they want to get out of that space as soon as possible. So is that something that you actually encourage, this way of thinking, or that goes against the mindset and manifestation?
Yeah. Wow. It's such a beautiful question, because I think that you're absolutely spot on. Like, by the time people usually get to me, they needed things to change 10 years ago, right? So they're already so sick and tired of what's going on. They've tried a bunch of things. They feel like nothing that they're doing is working. And there's this fear that this is where they're stuck for the rest of their lives. And so it is a really important question. I mean, yes, of course, part of manifestation is letting go of the thing that you're asking for and trusting, right? But you have to at least have a hope that it's going to change at some point fairly quickly in order for you to even keep investing time, because how much time does it feel like you've already wasted getting to this point? So it's such a valid question, and it can happen in an instant. Valeria, if I could, I'll share a couple of examples with you, and this doesn't mean that this is always how it happens, right? Everybody's dealing with different sets of limitations. And that 100% comes into how fast the results happen. But I have had clients go from zero income, they couldn't afford to pay for lunch at a restaurant, to landing a $4 million deal in 2 weeks. I've had a client go from zero income for 18 months to landing a $37 million deal in 2 weeks. I've had a client go from zero income to 16K in 1 month and sit at around 10K for another year. Right? It wasn't just one time 16K and then you've got to live off of that for the next 10 months. It's no, the income kept coming. So the thing is we just don't understand how powerful these limitations are. We only notice how powerful they are once they're gone and we witness the miraculous things that happen in our lives. It can happen in an instant.
Wow. Gosh, I can't wait to unpack that, for that instant, what happens there. But before that, how did you get to do what you're doing today? Do you call this a purpose, a calling?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. And I'll try to keep it quick because I could literally spend an entire 45 minutes giving you my
Yes.
backstory as we all could. um,
Mhm,
yeah. So I was raised in extreme poverty I was raised in a
mhm.
third world country, South Africa. Experienced extreme abuse in my childhood. When I was 12, I was placed in, we moved to England and then I was placed in foster care. So that's my accent.
Yeah.
And then I was in foster care for 6 years. So then I emancipated from foster care, and my life actually got worse, which is hard to believe, but I ended up homeless 4 times. I was a
Ah,
single mom at that time. We lived on $25 a week for food. And it came to a point when I was just turning 30. I was 29. It was a couple weeks before my 30th birthday. And I realized I had been blaming my abusers for my choices as an adult for 12 years. And I was like,
ah,
oh my gosh, I have
yeah.
been responsible for my own decisions for 12 years and I'm still blaming somebody else. So I was like, okay, accountability time, like radical accountability time. I started a healing journey. I started taking hypnosis sessions, and also I started learning hypnosis at the same time.
Wow.
And it was so effective that I decided to build a private practice. I was voted best hypnotherapist in Los Angeles 5 years in a row. But I still was hitting an income threshold. I still couldn't make more than $6,000 a month, which in California, like in Los Angeles, you still have to have a roommate at $6,000 a month.
Mm,
Like you still can't afford to live by
yeah.
yourself. So,
Yeah.
so then that's when I started working on money mindset. And when I started working on money mindset, everything changed. My income started doubling, 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 doubling to the point where now I've made over $2.5 million in my business. And then my clients, they were having radical shifts.
Mm,
A I started a group for money mindset, a group program, and within 5 months they had made over $47 million, which was absolutely bonkers. And most of them
right.
started making less than 5K a month, to the point where now we're 5 years later, they've made over $1.5 billion. So that's just kind of like, I came here as the wounded healer, which probably a lot of people can associate
Yeah.
with, to heal myself and then teach other people how to kind of follow in my footsteps.
Yes. Gosh, that's amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing how life supports itself, right? It's always trying to find its way back to balance, and sometimes in a magnificent way. That's, I mean, I'm seeing you doing exactly that.
Wow, that was really eloquent and beautifully said.
Yeah. So, what's money mindset? What is your definition? How would you describe that, this
Oh,
concept?
what a great question. So, money mindset is essentially what you think about money, how you relate to money,
Mm,
what your relationship with money is. Most people, especially women, have a very adverse relationship with money. And especially women who are heart centered, our
mm.
relationship with money tends to be, I know I need it, but I wish I effing didn't. Like, I
Yes.
wish that we already lived in the way that things used to be, which was the
Right.
communal way. Can't we just bring our gifts and do that fair exchange? Like, can't we just live that way? And
Yes.
so, which I totally agree with. I know.
I'm like, I'm one of them.
You're like, exactly, exactly. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so we have this like very push pull relationship with money where
Mm,
we need it and we hate that we need it. And it like creates this internal conflict whereby we're like, well, frick, I've got to pay my bills and I really
yeah.
want to take a vacation and I deserve to go to the most beautiful spa and have the most luxurious treatment for what I do for X people or this planet or whatever. But well, they charge money, a lot of it. So I guess I'm going to
Yes.
need money to go do those things that I want to do. And it,
Yes.
it, it almost turns to resentment more than it is like a gratitude and a welcoming. And the thing is, like, the energy of money,
Uh,
money is fake. And so the energy of money is very, very empty. And so people who spend their lives chasing money are the ones who commit suicide when they get their billions or they build their legacy because they don't have joy. They thought that money was going to be their avenue to joy, and it just wasn't, because it's empty. It is just a tool. And that is it, right? So when you can remove all of those associations that you have around money, and you can realize that money might as well be a spoon that you're using to eat cereal with, or it might as well be a saucepan that you're using to make breakfast with, right? When you know that money is just here to support living, all of a sudden it gives you permission to receive it without feeling guilty, spend it without feeling like you should be spending it on someone else or something more important, or if you have overflow, you're supposed to donate it, right? It lets you have an entirely different life experience when you can clean up your relationship and your perception of money.
So what is the main idea then? It's to, everything's energy. We know that, right?
Yes.
There's, in a way, the Buddhists say everyth's empty anyway. Everything, you and I and everything else in
Yes.
between. It's 99 and
Right.
99 empty.
Yes.
So what's the goal of life? What comes to mind when you hear that question? What is the purpose of being here?
The purpose of being here. Yes, there's 3 purposes in my professional and personal opinion. I believe that we're here to experience, that we're here to grow, and that we're here to help others experience and grow. And that would be impact. And I believe that that is it. It's certainly not to make money. It's just that with money, you can have more experiences. With money, you can pay for more things to help you grow faster and in different ways, horizontally and vertically. And you can make a bigger impact because advertising costs money. Getting in front of people costs money, right? So that's why money is just a tool to support our experience, as opposed to the reason. It's become the reason that most people live.
Right. Gosh, what a wise answer and beautiful
Thanks.
answer. Thank you. Yeah. That just resonates true with me. Yes.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I would love to unpack a bit more this idea of growth. So, people talk about evolution, expansion, and growth is a word, a concept that's used a lot within the soul's journey, your human journey, all kinds of journey. So what is your idea of growth? What's the destination, if there is one, when it comes to that concept?
Absolutely. I will lead you in a circle and say I don't believe there is a destination, because I believe, I'm a personal believer in reincarnation. So I believe that we grow as much as we can while we're in this body.
Yeah.
And then when we're done with this body, we pick a new body on a different planet or on the same planet, and we go again. And I think that all growth is simply another version of the creator experiencing itself. And that is done, I believe it's done on a microcosmic level with us as humans, but I also believe it's done on a macrocosmic level with souls, and then also with gods. I believe that gods are also the creator experiencing itself. And, birthing new planets and different kinds of species of beings. All of it is just part of the experience of experiencing itself and growing. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of destination except for rejoining with the creator. But that journey is so long. I don't know that any beings have ever actually achieved that yet.
Yes.
It's so long. There's so much to do. There's so much to be done that I think, sometimes I see people who are like, okay, I'm going to get to enlightenment and this is going to be my last life, this lifetime. And I'm like, aw, that's so cute. I'm sorry to say, but that's probably not true.
Yes. From your perspective, do you think that might, in a way, open the path, not faster, but just open the path to the exploration of, what comes next without expectation, but just kind of with this open, curious and open-minded, in a way, playful too.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so essentially, that perspective is always where I try to bring people to, because the culture of hustle, right, that we live in our global society has created this idea that we are trying to achieve a something. And the something is always out of reach. And it doesn't matter how high you get in your level of success, the something that you're trying to get to is always on the next level. And so you think you're almost there, you get there, and it's like, oh, crap, it's not here. Okay, well, then I got to keep going to the next level, right? And because there is an idea that there's a tangible thing that you're chasing, I call it the mountaintop, and I call this entire process the affluence addiction. The biggest challenge with this entire process is that people think they can get there faster if they work harder, if they sacrifice more, if they give up more sleep, more time with their family. They think that it's a destination that you can get to if you drop everything else and focus only on going as fast and as hard as you can. And that's where, 99% of our global community gets lost. They miss living. They skip their life, and they never actually get to the place that they're going to because it doesn't exist. The place that they're getting to is the place that you have just described. It's that feeling of contentment. It's that feeling of right now is enough. I don't need anything beyond right now. Right now is enough. All of my needs are met in this moment and in this moment and in this moment, right? And so this state of being is where I am helping my clients unhook from the affluence addiction and get into this state of being, because I truly believe we didn't come here to do anything except for be. And it's in our being. Speaking of how does this align with money mindset and manifestation journey, when we are living within our being, we are always manifesting exactly the resources that we need. And then when we can raise our frequency of being now and our desires, perhaps we don't want to just live with what we need. Maybe we want to live in overflow. And, all we have to do is raise our frequency and just change our mind and ask for overflow. Then we can live in overflow and stay in a state of being, right? And there's something about the physics of being in hustle mode that actually pushes manifestations out. Part of manifesting is anybody who has followed manifesting for any period of time is you have to rest. You have to play. You have to let go of what you're asking for. And the reason is because it actually shifts polarities of the particles. When you're manifesting something, it only will be magnetized to you through a process of cohesion when it is at a distance. The moment it gets close, and this is the time, I know you'll be able to relate to this, and the listeners too, this is the time where you can feel, you're like, I know the thing that I'm wanting is just out of reach. I can feel it. And it feels like you're pushing against some kind of invisible but stretchy barrier. Well, when you're doing that, it's because your electromagnetic particles, your electromagnetic field is literally rubbing against the electromagnetic field of the thing that you're trying to manifest. But now they move into pushback through the third law of physics. And so you have to switch your polarity, because then the thing that you're manifesting comes all the way in. So when you live in a state of hustle, you will actually never get what it is that you're truly asking for. You might get things around it. People have been successful at creating wealth by hustling, but that's the old paradigm. And I know we've already moved out of the old paradigm. We are no longer, the laws don't work in this paradigm the same as they did in the old paradigm anymore.
Right. Gosh, yeah. Yes, a billion times to everything that you said. A billion times. Yeah, that's it. I remember Oprah Winfrey said that. I don't know if you remember when she said something that she was looking to achieve something really big. And then only when she let go of it and just said, I surrendered to it, from not having. It's okay,
Yes.
universe, that I don't have that. And that's when she got it, almost like immediately.
I love that. I'm totally using that story. It's great. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing.
I heard that many years ago,
That's
and I was really
cool.
fascinated by it. I didn't apply that, but
Yeah.
it just felt really natural to me, like listening to her, very intuitive when she said that. The moment I surrendered, that's when it came to me.
Right.
She just said, it's okay not to have it.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? So I want to mention the belief systems that you have on your website that caught my attention. You said belief system 1, life is too short to do something that doesn't bring you joy. So is there a difference between joy and happiness? Because I hear a lot of, we go back and forth. I think we're just using language here, but what comes to mind when you hear, these concepts?
Yeah, there does seem to be a difference in the timbre, right? Happiness almost feels like a momentary, like it can be just moment to moment, and joy more feels like a state of being. Yeah, like that would be my perception.
Yeah. It resonates with me too, intuitively. Yeah, maybe that's why that word came to me. So life is too short to do something that doesn't bring you joy. And that's so true. I heard that heart attacks, they are connected to the lack of joy. So a lot of people die from heart attacks for that reason.
Wow.
So the question that comes to mind in the moment is why do we sign up for that? Why do we... It's almost like a lack of self-love. I think I mentioned off record to bring this topic here.
Yeah.
So is it something, have we forgotten, like, to go within? Yeah, what happened to us, as humans? Because there's so many of us suffering so much unnecessarily.
Oh, amen. Oh my God, so many people suffering unnecessarily. That's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, without going super deep into like conspiracy theory, like I would just take a step back from the way that society raises us from birth, and the way that we are indoctrinated to believe is that if it's too easy, it's not worth it. If we're too happy, things worth getting are supposed to be hard to get. You're supposed to work hard to have a good life. You're supposed to, I don't know if anyone else heard this, but when I was growing up, I laughed. I have a very loud laugh. And so I was constantly shushed for laughing too loudly. And people were actually offended by my joy. That happens all the time, right? Like kids are shushed for laughing. Kids are shushed for playing. Kids are told, stop dreaming, keep your feet on the ground. You've got to be realistic. You've got to be practical. Like we're taught, like we are deeply ingrained, and it's not our parents' fault. That's what their parents learned, right?
Yes.
And if you're too happy when other people in the world are suffering, well, now you're making them feel bad. Right? Like you're not supposed to be celebrating. You're not supposed to be happy if there are people dying somewhere in the world, right? There's all of these societal conventions that are programmed in us since birth. And something about mental programs is that they get to a place of our brain, the unconscious mind, where after the age of 12, they become set in like quick drying cement, and after the age of about 25 they cannot be accessed anymore. Our brain is still a little malleable between 12 and 25. After the age of 25 you need a specific technique, hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, to be able to rewire the way that our brain is programmed. So when we're programmed to believe making money should not be a joyful process because it is so hard it's supposed to be hard. So if I'm having fun doing it, then I'm breaking the rules. And for anyone who was raised to be a rule follower, that feels very uncomfortable. I don't want to break the rules. I'm going to get in trouble. Or
Right.
if I'm having fun doing it, then I'm going to get found out. For anybody who is a black sheep, we are so tired of being in trouble for just being
Yes.
ourselves, right? It's like there's all these different
Yes.
layers and aspects. And then there's the whole, if I have more than I need, then I'm supposed to give it away. And if I keep it, then someone is going to take it from me. The amount of times, especially from women, I hear,
Wow.
I don't want to make more money because, and it's a limiting belief, so they don't know they have it until it comes out. But the amount of times I hear, because if I make more money, my family is going to ask for it and I have to give
Oh,
it to them. And it's like, wow, do you? Where did your choices go? Right? Like, where
right.
did your
Yeah.
sovereignty go? Where are your
Right.
boundaries? And it's because this is how we're raised. We are raised that if we have excess,
Ah,
we're supposed to give it away. We're not allowed to keep anything for ourselves. And it's all deeply programmed. So, like, this is why the work that you're doing is so important because you're essentially waking people up to remember, you're allowed to be happy.
mhm.
You're allowed to have joy. You're supposed to. This is the design of humans. We were not born to suffer. That is just not the way. Like, we don't
Mm,
live in a
yeah.
cruel universe. It's just not the design.
Yes. Yes. So it's really being open again, curious and open as to why the limitations, why do we suffer unnecessarily, why, and then having the courage, right, to go deeper within, and also to ask for help. Like that's
Yes.
something that you do. You're a guide,
Yep.
so that's what I love doing. Like sharing all these amazing people that they are guides here on Earth
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
help, the remaining of. I mean, I don't want to say humanity because it seems like something huge, 8 billion people all
Oh,
following
I
it.
get you.
I don't have to
Yeah.
think that way, but
No.
I can't help it anyway. It's a choice, less choice to do what I
Yeah,
do. And it feels the
absolutely.
same way, feels to me like the same way with you.
Yeah.
It's a choice that it might be like part free will, but probably 10% and 90% just a choice, less choice that we are just
Yeah.
guided to do this work.
Right. It's more like tacit compliance because you don't know. Oh, for us. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely had a choice, but I was backed into a corner and my choice was
Mm,
get a job or do your calling and make money. And it was at a time where I was feeling really hesitant to move into money mindset, but they were like, this is your way. Like, this is your path. And I was like, you've got the wrong girl. I am not qualified to teach anybody on money
uh,
mindset. And they were like, too bad. Like, this is your path. So yes, I could have decided to gone back and get a job, but I know my soul would have withered away to nothing doing that. And it was a choiceless choice for
yeah, it sounds like it. It's not just the words. I mean, I do see words as the almost like sacred. Everything's sacred to
spells.
me.
Yeah.
But then there are some words that just resonate so much with the heart energy or the soul. I don't know. And then listening to you, it feels like a meditation, really, like music. So that's when I know,
Wow.
like, oh, it feels like music.
Wow. That is such a beautiful compliment. Thank you.
It's true. It feels that way. It feels exactly like that way. I can't help it. And I'm very devotional when it comes to these things. It's
Thank you.
truly beautiful. Gosh. I'm
Thank
like, oh, keep
you.
saying these things. And maybe that's why this body mind does this work. So I have as many people as possible kind of knowing, having access to this
Mm,
melody, really. It's
mhm,
almost like yeah, the song of the soul, the song of life, whatever it
mhm.
is. It just sounds so beautiful. Or maybe from
You're
a bird. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the resonance of truth, like it hits us all the same, right? Because truth is truth. Like there's
Yes.
truth and there's distortion of the truth, and you know the difference, and you can feel the difference, and you hear the difference. And I'm not saying everything I say is right because, I'm very careful to make sure everybody knows it's coming through my own perception, right? This is
Yes.
just the way that I think. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't. But I try to be as clear of a channel for truth as possible at all times. Yeah.
Yes. And I can feel it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next question is about the relates to the conditioning that you spoke of, that we are all very much limited by our environment, the way we have been brought up, the way the brain works.
Yeah.
So how do you work through that? How, because there's so much resistance and we know.
Yeah.
So is this something that might take not time, but what does it take really for somebody to open up to,
Yeah.
new
That's a
way
great
of
question.
being?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's what most of my work
Mhm.
is devoted to. How can we make this process faster and then faster and then faster and then faster? Like, we're not looking to cut corners, because obviously we need to have our lessons. But I also believe that humans in principle make things overcomplicated. So I'm always looking to simplify. So with resistance, it's really important to understand that resistance is just our body trying to keep us safe, because our brain and our body has just one job, and that is to keep us alive. Now, it still has the same programming as when we were cave people. And when we were cave people, anything new was potentially life-threatening. It was a
Yeah.
saber-toothed tiger. It was a poisonous plant, right? Um, and we lived in a state of life or death back then. And our biology, our genetic biology, has not advanced beyond that. So our brain, our body, reads anything new as life-threatening, including making more money, being happier, receiving more love, especially if you were raised in abuse. Being treated
Yeah.
kindly is read as life-threatening. It's very bizarre. And so that's where resistance comes in, because the brain reads, I'm trying something new. It's creating different sensations in my body, and these new sensations are dangerous. And our body is actually addicted to the old sensations. Like, let's say, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this really, really well. He talks about how our cells in our body, let's say that you constantly feel waves of shame and guilt.
Right.
Over time, the cells of your body get acclimatized. They become almost addicted to those waves of shame and guilt, so that when you no longer are feeling those waves of shame or guilt, or you feel them less or less, your cells go into a state of withdrawal, of
Wow.
physical withdrawal, and they signal to your brain something dangerous is happening. And your brain then goes into hyperdrive to try to get you back into a state of shame or guilt, because that's what your body is acclimatized to. And so all resistance is showing you that something is actually working. You're actually taking some steps. Something is changing in your life. Now, in order to bypass homeostasis, there are several different ways you can do that. First of all, you can locate the limiting beliefs that are creating those reactions in the first place. Like, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to be happier. I'm not allowed to make more money. I'm not allowed to make more money than my parents did. And you can clear those. Now, the only ways that I have found to be fully effective to clear limiting beliefs are hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, and then 2 processes that I created myself, which, in my opinion, work faster than both. Because, like I told you, I'm always like,
Yeah.
what's a faster way? What's a more efficient way? What's a more effective way that we can get rid of all of this? So I
Wow.
created a process that combines the speed of NLP, but also has the somatic processing of like somatic work. So it releases all the trapped emotions in your body around all of the reinforcing events at the same time. And it clears multiple beliefs simultaneously. So those are
Wow.
my suggestions. And then when it comes to overcoming homeostasis, what you're trying to do is you're trying to acclimatize your body to a new set of hormones and neurochemicals. One of the easiest ways to do that is through visualization, that you have feelings associated with the visualization. This is why so many people have taught visualization alongside of manifesting
Yeah.
intuitively. They didn't know why. It was just intuitive. So what you're doing is you're actually like, okay, so let's imagine your life when you're making $50,000 more a month than you're making right now, what does life look like? And what does it feel like? And what are the different details? And when you can imagine like really specific details, but coupled with the relief that you feel, the joy that you feel, the freedom that you feel at seeing a really cool vacation on social media and just booking it without even checking your bank account because you know you can afford it. You know the money's there, right?
Yeah.
When you couple it with those states of being, what you're doing is you're flooding your body with a new set of neurochemicals and hormones before the thing ever arrives. You're also starting to soften your brain's reaction to reject it when it does arrive as new and unsafe, so that when it actually does arrive, your body's like, yeah, I know, this is it. This is the life, because you've spent so much time like acclimatizing your body to the new way of being. And that can take months of visualization, or there are processes that can help speed up that process.
Right. So it's very scientific. It
Yes.
sounds like so scientific.
Everything I do is based in science. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Although I'm seeing you as almost as a spiritual teacher, but yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the science of spirituality, I would
Yes.
say.
Right.
So the science of manifestation game. So you're offering this course. It's free of charge,
Free.
and anybody can download. Is that where you disclose all the information that you just gave it to us through this conversation?
Even deeper.
Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, what I love about this game is so cool. So essentially, I take the top 5 states of being that are usually the reasons why we want more money. So it's freedom of choice. We want to feel safe. We want to feel ease in flow. We want to feel like we can be fully self-expressed without worrying that it's going to affect our money in any kind of way. And we want peace, right? So in my experience, these are the top, and then I did a big survey of my community, and these were the top reasons. And so what I do is I walk through 5 days of imagining, embodying these states of being, and then on each day, I couple it with the science behind the manifestation. And then there's challenges each day that you can do, so you can start practicing how to use the science that you're learning to start leveraging and creating the life that you want.
That's wonderful to hear, because a lot of times we're very intellectual. Most of us, we live in our heads a lot of times. We have been doing this, right, for centuries now.
Yes.
So now it's the time, feels like a lot more. It's the time to just kind of, it's almost like bringing heaven to earth.
Yes.
That's what it feels like.
That's
I don't
exactly
know.
what it is. Nailed
Isn't
it.
it?
Nailed
Yeah.
it. Yes.
It really feels that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do have here the 5 days to shift your reality. Gosh. I mean, it just sounds, it feels also so spiritual, but there's no separation. Again, I don't see science, spirituality. It's one.
There's not. What I love about the science is that it's finally catching up with what we've known intuitively for millions of years, right? We've been teaching this stuff for a long time, and because I'm sure you were here teaching it before, it's not an accident that you found yourself here doing this. And now that science has progressed so much, now we're starting to be able to prove how this works through science, so that any part of our brain that's stuck in logic can also play along, where no belief required, no suspending of reality required. You don't have to just do a trustful. Now it's completely trackable, right? They just proved a few months ago through a scientific experiment that intuition exists.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know that.
Yes. It's so cool. You would love the Heart Math Institute.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes. You've heard of them. Okay. Yeah. So they do all of the cool experiments. One of the scientific experiments they did was they proved that you could heal retroactively. They had a group, and they healed people 20 years prior. Yeah, it was so cool.
I mean, there are so many things they have been doing. I think I have somebody scheduled, who did a movie on the science of the heart. Yeah, and they worked with a lot of professions from them. from that
Fun.
institution. So that's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Are we evolving our
Yes.
consciousness? Or
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. So I don't know the
uh,
details of it specifically, but I know in 2019 there was a really important shift where the last thing that had to be done in order for us to begin our consciousness evolution finally clicked into place. And that's when we started moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And the age of Aquarius is the golden
yeah.
age, right? It's the age of, you know, cooperation, collaboration, support, oneness. And so humanity is being invited to raise their intellectual and emotional consciousness. And some of them are going kicking and screaming, but essentially
Yes.
it's essentially we're too far along. Like there's a tipping point that was reached in 2019 where there is no going back. We're not going to go back. There's no going backwards. There's only evolution. And so it doesn't matter who kicks and screams and how many
Mm.
people hold on to the doorposts of the way that things used to be. Like the momentum is too far. Like if you're in a lot of spiritual groups, you'll see postings that say light has already won. They don't mean Earth is now on heaven because clearly it's not.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's not what
Yes.
they mean. What they mean is it is inevitable. There is no going back. It's just not possible. We've reached a tipping point.
Mm.
And yes, you're spot on. Yeah, about that with our evolution.
So I want to mention your services. So one-on-one coaching, online courses, private community. I love that too. That you have a community. And then the free course, the link will be here, clickable on the podcast notes, so it'll be
Thank
easy.
you.
So before we say goodbye, I do have a question for you, the ending questions. But before that, is there anything that you left unsaid for this conversation? Anything that comes to the heart?
Yeah, there's one thing I always like to make sure just to reinforce, which is most of us know that there's 8 billion people on the planet. And so it can be really easy to feel unimportant because you're like, well, I'm just one of 8 billion. You know, that's a lot of people. But
Yeah.
the way that I invite you to look at it is like this. Imagine that it is the most elaborate clock. Our world is the most elaborate clock that was ever built. And yes, some pieces are bigger and carry more weight, but every single piece of the clock is important. And if one of those cogs doesn't do its job, and by the way, your job is just to be, it's not to do
Mm.
anything, it's just to be you and stop being what you're not. If one of those cogs doesn't do what it's supposed to do, the whole thing doesn't work exactly the way that it was designed. It doesn't work right. And so, and if more than one of those cogs don't do what they are supposed to do, then the whole thing breaks. And so, even though you might not, you might feel like, who, little old me? Yes, little old you are
Yeah.
important. You are vital. You being you and you showing up and you being the version of you that is the most authentic and the truest to you is just as vital as the one person who might change the course of history. All of us play a very important role.
Wow. What can I say? Nothing. You just said everything perfectly, beautifully divine, written almost. It's funny, right? Because yeah, when it comes from that space, it just flows, and it feels again like a song, a guided meditation, something. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. What a gift. Thank you.
Yeah. So my last question is,
Yes.
what is freedom to you? This platform,
Mm.
it's titled The Freedom to Feel, and I titled this way for a reason. But I often ask this question: what does it feel like to be free? What is freedom? Is that something that you contemplate?
Constantly. Yes.
You do.
So freedom to me means freedom of choice, but on all
Mm.
levels. It means knowing that I'm a sovereign being and no one can make me do anything, knowing that every single action that I take is a choice, even if that's to follow the law, if
Yeah.
that's not to cause harm or to cause harm, right? There is nobody, there is no thing that can make me do or be anything that I'm not. And it doesn't matter if I don't know how to not do it.
Right.
Like, there's always research to be done, but freedom is just remembering, as a sovereign being, I am 100% responsible and in charge of every single choice.
Wow. Yes, yes, another billion times to that. Inner power. That's the only power that really
Yes.
matters anyway.
Yeah.
Wow. And that really ends the game of resentment, right? Of blaming, of shaming. That would just fear, because
Yeah.
now you're walking on your power and you know everything that's happened is just my choice. I
Yeah.
choose this, I choose that. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah. And then you encounter people who are like, you have to, and you just giggle. You're like, oh, do I? That's so
Right.
cute. Like, oh, that's so cute that you think you could tell me that I have to do something. No, because I remember that I am always powerful. So it
Uh,
doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what seat you hold. It doesn't matter if you're a judge with a robe or the president of the United States. You can't tell me that I have to do anything. Everything I do is a choice.
wow.
Hmm.
Thank you for that message again, that
Yes.
reminder, because we do need that reminder, especially women, right?
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you again, Abby, for everything and for your
Thank you for
work,
having me.
everything. I mean, for being true to you and for sharing the wonderful news. Thank you so much again. And we'll
Thank
talk soon. We'll
you.
be in touch. We'll meet again.
I love
Bye
it.
for now.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you. Bye
guys.
for now.